It's early Saturday morning in Lakes Country. Not far from Pelican Rapids, on a farm overlooking Lake Lida, Ryan and Maree Pesch have been up for hours, harvesting vegetables, getting ready to take their fresh produce to the farmer's market, where it will be sold within just hours of being harvested. Farming is a family business, and Lida Farm is no exception. We asked Maree about her background.
My grandpa was a traditional dairy farmer.
How many head did he milk?
You know, probably like 40 to 50, somewhere in there. But he was kind of in partnership with his brother. And then he farmed up until he broke a hip. So he was, you know, in his 80s, and his brother went on to farm until he was 92, 93. He just could not part with the cows. So, you know, it was real traditional crops and dairy, and we lived just up the hill from where they farmed, so we were always down there. So, and I tell these kids that we grew up in that hayloft chasing kittens around.
Besides onions, today's harvest includes several varieties of tomatoes, carrots, potatoes, sweet corn, fresh greens, and herbs. Now, are you all organic production, or?
Yeah, we are, but we're not certified.
Not certified.
So that's kind of an interesting thing. The government owns the term organic nowadays, so you can't, if I'm not certified, I can't use the term.
Like the traditional farm of bygone days, Lida Farm also has animals. Chickens for fresh eggs, chickens for frying, pigs for bacon, sheep for, well, just for the sake of having sheep, I guess, and a donkey to keep the sheep company.
You guys know what you want for breakfast? Oh, and I'm gonna grab some chickens quick.
Yep.
Sleep by. It's okay. Sorry, it's 3 wets.
Yep.
Ryan, how many should I bring? You said 5?
Yeah, bring 5. That's good. Here.
Feed chickens too. See, you don't have enough.
Pack everybody right in there. It's kind of. It's easier.
Okay. Come on, Will, honey. You gotta eat.
Yeah.
So we can get there. And you're gonna get a new shirt on.
Yeah, we could get a chicken.
The vegetables are washed and the van is packed, ready to go to market.
No coffee?
Yeah.
I'll pack you some coffee.
It's kind of like one of those clown things. That's sometimes how we feel. Look how much.
Oh yeah,
Where you
I can
get
rid of those.
stuff just keeps coming out of this little car.
Sure. Obviously, there's a growing demand for fresh from the farm produce. And after the morning rush at the farmer's market, we talked with Ryan about farming and how his produce gets into customers' hands. You didn't grow up on a farm?
Nope.
But so how did you get involved in organic farming?
Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting story. Yeah, so I grew up a town kid in East Grand Forks, and I kind of got turned on to the whole sustainable ag thing when I was an undergrad in St. Peter. And St. Peter always had this really nice food co-op. It's kind of like the only neat place to hang out in St. Peter. And that kind of got me just turned on to the whole sort of local food movement, organic agriculture, sustainable ag, so that, you know, with that interest as an undergraduate, when I finally graduated, I spent 2 years working on a CSA by Stillwater, a place called Foxtail Farm. And that's sort of where I kind of learned the craft of raising produce and marketing produce. Once we moved out of the city, it afforded us the ability to kind of buy a farm, 20-acre farmstead.
Beautiful farm.
Yeah, thanks.
Beautiful farm. And you also work as an extension agent. In today's world, it's sticking a person's neck out, I would imagine, to take up farming.
Yeah. So I guess I'm at the point in my life I'm not yet ready to leave my day job, if you will. But my day job is also pretty exciting too. So.
And it's kind of related.
And it's related, yeah. I mean, so being with extension, you have this real history of extension working with small, growers and growing and communities, and so it kind of goes hand in hand.
How does it work? You have a 20-acre farm, but certainly you don't grow 20 acres of vegetables. That'd be incredible. I mean,
Yeah, 20 acres of produce is really kind of a full-time operation. And so, we do 2 acres of produce. We have a 20-acre farmstead, so 2 of those acres are strictly produce. And then there's probably about 5-6 acres of haying crop that I do with my neighbor for our livestock, and then the rest is kind of permanent pasture and kind of a wooded pasture.
Now tell us about your livestock and how that fits into the produce, because you don't really sell animals, do you?
We sell a small amount of animals, right? So we'll sell. Well, right now we have a few pigs, and so that's mainly for our own consumption and a couple of our members. It's our first year raising pigs because my neighbor got out of it. But but we've always had a small flock of sheep, just because it's a smaller scale animal. It's kind of easy to handle. We've done like a couple hundred broilers this year, so we have a small broiler operation, and we have an egg layer operation, about 40 odd layers. And they kind of, even though we're sort of not really like livestock people, they sort of fit into the whole mix of the farm, because with a farm, you kind of, especially a produce farm, you have a need for a lot of manure, and sort of the livestock and the crops and the produce sort of fit together well in terms of cycling nutrients throughout the farm. So we started this small flock of sheep. They eat down the pasture. It looks nice, but they also give us manure in return.
Sure.
That manure then goes back into the 2 acres where we do produce more intensively. And then as an added benefit, they'll throw out a couple male lambs every now and then, and we'll sell the lambs to our members or people in the neighborhood and stuff. So they all kind of fit together, both on how things get marketed in terms of the animals and livestock, like the broilers with the produce, but also how the nutrients kind of get cycled throughout the farm.
Sure.
So they're an integral part of the farm, although it's not the focus of the farm, if you will.
Yeah. You also have a dairy distribution business.
Yeah.
It's kind of a sideline venture that did you just start that recently?
We started what we call the world's smallest dairy route a little over a year ago. We started that simply because for our CSA operation, which is kind of the largest part of what we grow for, we're already going and doing a delivery route. We don't have drop-off sites. We actually deliver to people's homes or business. So we're trying to think of other things that would complement that business, and in terms of products people would like to get. So typically, if you're a CSA member and you're into organic produce, you might be into organic dairy, I would think.
What is meant by CSA?
It's an acronym. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture. And the whole idea behind that is people become a member of the farm or a member for the season. And then for payment, typically up front, what they do is they receive a share of the season's harvest. So this is typically done with produce. I mean, most CSA operations are produce operations. Each week we will deliver what produce is in season to somebody's home or business. The CSA was started on the idea of saying that we're just not producers and consumers. That there has to be a better way that we can have people have kind of a closer relationship with one another. Besides just receiving produce, we have typically one time a year we'll have like a work day where people come out to the farm with their family and kind of experience the farm hands-on by doing some work, weeding with us. We also have kind of an end-of-season harvest party. So it's an opportunity for people to not only kind of meet us and our family and sort of check out the farm, but also meet other members and kind of try to begin to create a bit of a community around the farm.
Walk us through the variety of things that one might take out of a
Yeah.
CSA box, starting with June and ending up in October. It's a transition. So a June box might contain what?
Yeah, like I would say a typical box is going to run. We always have probably at a minimum 6 different items, like or 6 different crops in a box, and it could run up to maybe 12, 13 different things in a box.
Wow.
So there's a bit of a range there, and so yeah, I sort of think about 3 seasons to a CSA generally.
Okay,
I think
sure.
of an early season, a mid-season, and then a fall season or late season. And so the spring season, the early season, you're going to see the box will typically be lighter, but you'll see things that you'll typically see in the spring. We'll see spinach, we'll see lettuce, we'll do a head lettuce, but we also do like a salad mix, like you'll just see in a grocery store from Earthbound Farms or something. So you'll see radishes. We also do we try to experiment with some funkier greens, because the one thing about a CSA that I try to do is I try to be long on the standards, so that people like to have the standards. They like to have lettuce and tomatoes around, but they also like to be surprised a little bit. So in the spring we'll put in, Asian greens like a mizuna or a tatsoi. We'll put in some broccoli rabe, some things like that. We also see green onions in the spring. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, I mean, of course, spring, our early season boxes, when you'll see the strawberries in season and coming in.
Really? You would have strawberries too?
Yeah, strawberry season generally runs June into early July. It's pretty much,
Probably just a couple
strawberry
weeks.
season. Yeah, it's probably 2 to 3 weeks that strawberries will be in the box. And we really start our CSA, we run for 4 months, so we run for 16 weeks. And we'll start it mid-June. And so that mid-June into July, you see strawberries in the box. You also see some other greens like a kale, collards, and stuff like that. Broccoli will start to come in as we go into like the mid-season box. So the mid-season is sort of like what I call the high season, when tomatoes come in, peppers come in. Some of those brassicas, the cole crops that were started in the spring will be in. So the cabbages and the broccoli. I'm trying to think, like cherry tomatoes will come in high season. Onions will start to come in high season, sweet onions. Garlic will come in. Garlic's typically done there in mid-July. Potatoes will start to come in. Early potatoes transitioning into regular sized potatoes. And then we'll always change it up. I mean, in terms of variety, because if you're doing a CSA, you really need a lot of variety. Because again, if you only did red potatoes, it'd be a little bit boring, right? So it's like, oh, Ryan gave me red potatoes again. It's a little bit better. It's like, oh, red potatoes transition next week to, Yukon Gold potatoes, and we'll transition to a white variety like a Kennebec or Dakota Prairie is what we have now for this year's, a white potato. And then we'll do a russet potato as well, and then Pontiac's is a later season red. A couple of years ago we did some fingerling potatoes, which are kind of nice. Again, something to change it up a little bit. And then of course then we transition into fall or late season where we'll get more of the root crops. I never pulled off rutabagas this year. So that's the one problem with the CSAs. You end up doing such a variety. Like sometimes I'll miss it, and if I miss a window, it just never happens. But
it didn't get planted in time, you mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so like a rutabaga is like a 90-day, so you really want to hit it. Sometime the end of June, you want to put a rutabaga in.
Sure.
There's all this other stuff going on, so if you miss the window, forget it. But we'll do a second set of cole crops. So we'll do a second set of broccoli and kohlrabi and things like that. But also then the winter squash come in, and later season potatoes will be in. Pumpkins will come in. We'll do pie pumpkins. Trying to see.
Do you do melons?
Melons, yeah, melons. We put melons in our CSA box, but we never brought any to the farmers market.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing of kind of how those two different, I don't know if you call them marketing channel, if you will, but those two different ways that we market produce come into play. The CSA almost always takes priority because we got to make sure that the crop gets in the box.
You've got a prepaid customer.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yep.
And so then
Gotta
kind of
satisfy 'em.
if we have sort of extra, then that will kind of transition to the farmer's market.
Sure.
And then actually if we have extra for the farmer's market, that will go back to the farm stand.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
So and over and above all that, then we actually will do we do a couple we sell to Riverside Bistro in Pelican Rapids.
Oh.
Sort of a kind of mom and pop coffee shop.
I thought Ryan did that.
Since part of our mission of our farm is to try to connect our members and people in the community with other local farms, we've made arrangements in the past for our members to source, say, other kinds of meats that we don't raise. We had arranged, before we raised broilers and chickens, we'd arranged for our members to get broilers and chickens from other people, and also some beef. From a neighbor of ours that raised beef, because we don't raise beef.
Sure.
And we also made arrangements with some of our members to get pork from other customers. This year I'm kind of excited that I don't know, probably about 5-6 miles from our farm is a real young farmer, a guy named Alex Johnson, whose family's been in the turkey business since 1877.
Wow.
He's now direct marketing a heritage raised turkey. That again, it's kind of hard to find in the area, and we're making that arrangement with our members to buy turkeys from him.
This guy. What is the geographic area you're covering that if somebody sees this and they might want to sign up, what area are you going to?
Yeah, our CSA will deliver really I call it the Lakes District between Pelican Rapids and Detroit Lakes.
Okay.
And so it's a fairly tight area.
And how far east and west do you go?
We'll go as far west as Cormorant.
Okay.
So Big and Little Cormorant will go as far west as there, and the village of Cormorant, if you want to call it that. And then we'll go as far east as Vergas and Detroit Lakes.
Okay, so kind of in that diamond area.
Yeah, and so we find, we kind of have a cluster of people in Detroit Lakes and a cluster of people in Pelican, and then everybody else is sort of spread out along a bunch of lakes.
Sure.
And so we'll be around Lake Pelican quite a bit, Lake Melissa we've delivered to. We've delivered to McDonald, as far east as Lake McDonald by Vergas. Long Lake and Loon Lake and Spirit Lake.
Is that okay?
Big ones are $1 each.